It's Vincent Price time again. Do you hear that noise in the air, Mr. Ridgely? That noise in the air is everybody's heart beating a little bit faster, palpitating, because they know tonight is another Vincent Price episode. There's nothing cooler than a Vincent Price episode. Lee Hoffman, hello, my sweets. I miss you. I hope you're well, my friend. Yes, we're back, Joe. How long? It's been 2 weeks since our last hootenanny.
I was going to say just entirely too long, but 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, 2 weeks. About right. And we got together for Scott Schiaffo and Scott Meaney's book anniversary. That was pretty awesome.
That was very cool. So what did we have? We had the Wandering Wannabes.
Yes. A couple of wannabes showed up.
Cast of Clerks. And then we had some of the Indie Brigade.
Sweet. Yes. What a great group.
Did I just freaking say that? Indie Escape. Damn it.
You did. But you know what? As a true friend I am, I just made believe I didn't hear it.
Well, I appreciate that. But
Sean, how are you, my brother? Ken, I hope you are well.
Sorry. While we have everyone's attention and with me babbling and screwing up, everybody, please go to David Lee Madison's The End of the Night Facebook page. Hit that like and subscribe button. Also go over to the Indie Escape Facebook page and YouTube channel. Hit the like and subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it.
So a couple of nights ago, my dear friend Emmett Garnham, who owns the wonderful store Haven for Heroes in Port Jervis, New York, if you're around Port Jervis or Orange County, New York, stop in. He has comic books and toys and Magic the Gathering, all that stuff that people love to go. I mean, his store's always filled. It's actually great because it's a great place for kids to go. And they're always in the back playing those card games. I'm an old man. I have no idea what the hell. When I was that age and I was in the back playing card games, it was, for money and cigars and beer was at the table. It's a whole different story. But it's just, so Emmett Garnham, my dearest friend, he came over to watch the Super Bowl with me. And I'm a big Bengal fan, so I was really bummed because the Bengals lost. And but that night when he came over, he got his hands on this for me, and it couldn't be more apropos this week. How cool is this? He got me a Vincent Price pop.
That is awesome, with the pencil thin mustache and everything.
Yes, and he's petting a black cat, and it has the Vincent Price logo on the back, and there's Vincent Price again. How cool is that? So I wanted to give a shout out to my dear friend Emmett. Thank you very much for bringing me the cool Vincent Price swag.
Ken's going to be stalking you, apparently.
Oh, sweet. I could use all the stalkers I can get. I'm doing this episode a little different. The last show, we had many, many stars joining us for the Big Vincent Price show. But tonight I thought me, you, Scott, and one of the preeminent knowledges in everything history of horror, and just one of the great. I mean, he has one of the greatest horror collections of all time. He actually gives. I can't think of the little guy from Pittsburgh's name. He's gonna be mad at me. The special effects guy, really super legendary. Savini. He gives Tom a run for his money as far as a horror collection. None other than the great Daniel Roebuck will be joining us tonight. He's playing Grandpa Munster in the new Rob Zombie Monster picture, the Munsters pictures. And he has a resume like no other. He's been in a ton of Rob Zombie films. He's been in, worked with Harrison Ford. He's just a great actor, a great guy, and he'll be joining us later on when we dive back into the long lost Vincent Price interview tape. And it's funny, Joe, because I even said this on my private Facebook. I have to stop saying and I don't know why I'm in an mood tonight. Can you smack the out of me? That would be awesome if you could do that. So you have anything that you need to tell everybody out there tonight regarding the indie escape or anything cooking?
Well, as usual, just make sure you tune in every weeknight. We pretty much have a show. Sundays, we got David Lee Madison's The End of the Night. And then
Correct.
Monday, we have CJ Robles with My Manic Mondayz.
Love that show.
Right. And let's see, Tuesday, we have Gabe show, Cymbalistic Cynicism, which I never get right. But
Gabe is a funny guy and a super talented cat, yeah.
Wednesday, we have Steve Gray with his show. Thursday, we have Mick with what the hell is it? Something. I'm not prepared for this. You caught me off guard.
Okay, let me ask you something. If I was to ask you online right now, as we're talking, to look online to find a picture and upload it, could you do that like within 30 seconds, or is that a big pain in the ass?
Nah, it's big.
It's a big pain in the ass. Okay, so I will just say this. A dear friend of mine, and always a great friend of the show, Ed Macabre. He has his wonderful werewolf film. The Beast comes out at midnight. If I get the title correct, I'm 99% sure I do. They just released
midnight. Yes, sir.
The Beast comes out at midnight, right? And
Beast comes at midnight.
Beast comes out. Beast comes at midnight. I put an out in there. I apologize. Beast comes at midnight. He just released, I think either today or yesterday, the theatrical poster for the film, and it has Eric Roberts on the cover, and I think Michael Pare. And I'm super proud of Ed and his wonderful son, who's actually going to join us on an upcoming episode of The End of the Night. I'm super proud of all you guys down in Tampa who made a wonderful film. Terry Jarrell, a name I haven't seen forever. Hi, Terry. Thank you for joining us tonight. I know you worked on that film, and I'm super proud of everybody who put enormous effort into that film. And go out and check out the new one sheet that just... Oh, there you go. Boy, look how awesome that is. The one sheet that just came out, it's Eric Roberts and Michael Pare and Michael Macabre and a whole bunch of wonderful people who worked on that. And Terry, who's a dear friend of the show and comes back from years ago when we were on the other program, and I'm super excited for everybody involved, and I can't wait to see that movie, and I can't say enough good things about everybody involved. So everybody check that movie out when you get a chance. With that being said, Joe Castro is also another friend of the show. Did I guess he did the special effects on the werewolf, so that's awesome.
And he has a starring role, I believe.
Oh, Joe Castro's in the film?
I believe he's in the film.
Oh, sweet. So, that's super exciting stuff, and I can't wait to see that movie, all kidding aside. I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. It looks really wonderful. Ed Macabre's a great guy, and I have a long history with Ed. I go back, I know him for probably over 10 years, and Ed's just a great guy, and he assembled a great team. So I'm looking forward to that film coming out. With that being said, Joe, would our lovely and trusted co-host, Grunkle Scott Schiaffo, be available?
It looks like he is.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, our lovely co-host and just wonderful guy. You know I am blowing smoke up your ass now. The lovely and talented Grunkle Scott Schiaffo. Grunkle Scott, how are you?
What is happening?
Are you excited about tonight's part 2 of the legendary Vincent Price interview?
I am indeed. The man is class personified.
Yes. And you know what's also wonderful? The gentleman who's going to be joining us tonight, I originally extended out invitations to filmmaker Jaysen Horton, but sadly at the very last minute he canceled. I extended invitations to Tiffany Shepis, but she's probably flying by the moon on her broomstick currently. I don't know, she might still pop on. I don't know if William Sadler might pop on like he did the last episode of the Vincent Price tapes. But I can tell you with all assuredness, a fellow Pennsylvania guy and a wonderful, wonderful actor and a wonderful film historian and just a great human being all around, Daniel Roebuck will be joining us in just a few minutes.
I love that guy.
Yeah, I mean, Dan was actually, you know what's the greatest, you know why I'm so honored to have Dan on our show tonight? Dan was our very, very first guest on the very first episode of David Lee Madison's End of the Night, going on over a year and a half ago, right? Or is it 2 years now, Joe?
Yeah, I'm almost thinking it's 2 years now.
Yeah, I think it's 2 years ago, yeah.
Because, February 26th was the last other show.
Right. And he was the first, so it was probably a year before that. And his lovely wife, Tammy Ann Roebuck, joined us when they were shooting a film. And I reached out to Dan and asked him if he would be a part of the Vincent Price show. And without hesitation, he readily agreed. And I'm honored to have him on tonight. But without further ado, a legend and icon, the man who's playing Grandpa Munster in the new Rob Zombie's The Munsters films. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Daniel Roebuck. Hey!
Nice.
Yay! Hello. Scott, nice to meet you. Thank you for your kind word. Joe, Dave, nice to see you guys again.
How are you, Dan?
Well, I'm doing just fine, thank you. I was here in my... We should all put on our Vincent Price. I'm here in my lair. Like, Vincent Price didn't have, like, you know, you go... Carl will go, Vincent, where are you going? And he'd say, I'm going to my lair, darling. I have to go whip up some torture devices.
Dan, did you ever have the opportunity to meet Mr. Price?
I met Mr. Price 3 fantastic times. I've become the Foy Ackerman of my day. I've met the master of all, minister of all that is sinister, 3 times in my lifetime. The first being, actually the first was at Muhlenberg College. He brought Diversions and Delights. Scott, that was a show that he did. I'm directing because we're like actor to actor, Scott and I are. But Dave, you act too. Joe, you do stuff. He did a one-man play about.
Oscar Wilde. Because you know what's so funny?
Yeah.
The very, very interview that we're hearing tonight is me and my brother Bob backstage.
Oh yeah, you went to see him at the
at Diversion. No, my brother worked with him on that stage show, Diversions and Delights.
Oh, he did. Marvelous. But Vincent did it there. He was such a gentleman. I did tell him I was moving eventually to California to be an actor. I'm sure he's like, yes, it's marvelous, moron. You'll never make it, chubby. And then I met him at a screening of The Great Mouse Detective. And then finally I met him when I was a guest of the Horror Hall of Fame. Remember those Horror Hall of Fame awards?
Yeah, I think they had them on TNT or TBS or something.
TBS maybe. It grew out of the Count Dracula's. No, it grew out of the Saturn Awards. But he was on that, and I was there as a guest of Robert Englund, so we got to chat for a few minutes.
Wow.
What a guy. You guys, like, when you think that there's an actor who was alive with Boris Karloff, and then he was alive with us.
Yes.
And, you know, the two things don't seem like they could be possible.
And worked with Johnny Depp, of all people.
Yeah, I mean, sure, anybody, you know, worked with our great friend Jeff Burr. Mm-hmm. You know, Jeff Burr knocked on his door one day and said, I'm making a movie. And Vincent Price, he said, was like making bread. And he was like, well, come in and tell me about it. And then he ended up doing it. Like, Jeff Burr, you know, before that, he had only directed Traffic. Like, and he made this movie. And Jeff's such a great guy. He tells a great, you should have him on the show once to hear his Vincent Price stories.
Absolutely awesome. I was actually blessed because my brother Bob befriended Vincent Price, and I was it was in my single digits when this it was 1979. They actually did where they went on cruises and did you probably remember these type of things, but they would go on short cruises and do murder mysteries on boats. Do you remember that, Dan?
I remember talk of that. Yeah, I luckily avoided that part of my acting life.
Well, my brother Bob was luckily killed by Vincent Price on these boats dozens and dozens of times.
Yes, so yeah, that's hard. Who could it be? Vincent Price? Who would? It doesn't seem like much of a mystery. There's Bob the Butcher, John the guy who works for the city clerk's office, and Vincent Price. One of these three killed the man.
So, Dan, before we start I'm going to start the interview that we did with Mr. Price. I want to ask you a quick question. What can you let people in on? And we understand it's very, very early in the process, but what can you let us in on as far as your upcoming picture, The Munsters, where you play the iconic character Grandpa Munster?
So, Mr. Zombie is the master of all information. I literally live on his coattails. I travel where he goes. He puts something on the internet, and I go, now I can tell you about this. We've had a great time. So far, he's announced Jeff Daniel Phillips, who's amazing as Herman, Sherry Moon Zombie. If I have to see one more stupid post about how undeserving she is of this opportunity, I'm really going to, it makes me very sad. She's a fantastic person, number one. And I don't buy this she's not a good actor stuff. It's so easy to say that. She's not a good actor. Why? What are you basing that on? Have you watched TV? She's goddamn Maggie Smith compared to, the people on network TV now. And I've never met an actor who works harder than she does. So she's great. And Jorge Garcia was announced. He's terrific. He and I spent a lot of time together on Lost, and he actually narrated a documentary for me called Monster Maniacs, which people should find about collecting monsters. And Sylvester McCoy's been announced, and so he was one of the Doctor Who's, and Catherine Schell, who was in the Pink Panther movie in Space in 1999, and Richard Brake, another great actor who every other time I've seen him, he's usually shoving an axe in my chest or some other gracious greeting.
Now, are you guys done with Principal, or are you still filming?
It's an ongoing production.
Okay, sweet. I will not press you any further. Thank you for the information that you got.
I can tell it's gonna be fantastic. The guy's a genius. Are you kidding me? Look at what Rob Zombie has created. He's created the persona. He's created these characters in movies. These characters I never understand. They're murderers, killers, and then one day they're like beloved. Oh, Sid Haig, that character with the shit on his face, beloved, and you're like, no, he was mostly killing people all the time. That's what he did. Like Vincent Price is beloved. So good. So thank you for asking.
Now, I also know that you and Tammy have a film. I think it's in the can already. Do you have any word on when that's coming out?
Yes, well, thank you. So people, if they're interested, could go to achannelofpeace.org. Tammy and I have made 3 movies together. Tammy's my wife. She's been sitting here. This is her editor. I've taken it over. The poor thing's been editing all day because her husband's an evil dictator. And he says, get in there and edit.
Trust me, my wife knows the same pain.
She knows, yeah. So we're all despots. So we made Getting Grace, which I'm excited to say, this is something that never happens, by the way, for an independent film. We made Getting Grace, and it came out 4 years ago.
Great film, I might add.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe it had the journey it deserved. And guess what? We have the rights to the film back, and I'm immediately putting it back in movie theaters.
Oh, awesome. That's a smart move, because it's a great feel-good. It's a great movie for the times that we live in.
Oh, thank you.
No, I think it would really It's the kind of movie that the world needs right now, is a feel-good kind of...
It's a feel-good movie about celebrating life instead of...
Absolutely. Even though you would think otherwise when you read the synopsis, it's a movie about celebrating life.
Oh, thanks, Gabe.
Yeah.
But, and then we did Lucky Louie, which is a movie about an old retired cop who couldn't solve a bank robbery 50 years ago. So he teams up with his Bible study, who are 4 convicted felons that he arrested and rehabilitated. And they start trying to figure the crime out. And then he goes into the hospital and is taken out of the picture for a while. And my ex-con goes, well, why don't we just rob the bank again? Then we'll know where the money went. And so that's what we do, but this time with the help of the entire town. And then the last movie, and so Lucky Louie ends up kind of like Murder on the Nile or Death on the Nile earlier, where the last 20 minutes, the old detective unravels, the mystery. He unwraps the onion. I don't like onions. I don't like that metaphor, but I'm going to use it anyway. And then lastly, and I'm almost done talking, I want to hear about Scott and my friend Kevin and Jaysen and everything else. So the last one's called The Hail Mary, and that's about a guy who desperately needs redemption, and this very sweet, funny nun who finds him and then cons him into creating a football team for an all-boys Catholic school to lead him to said redemption.
Sweet.
So
that sounds awesome.
Thank you. We just finished. We're editing the Lucky Louie film is almost done with post-production. We just have to do our final sound edit, and the Hail Mary we're 85% edited through the actual picture.
If you guys do a showing in Pennsylvania, I would be honored to attend. So please let me know if you're...
We will. Thank you.
Now, Sean Smithson is asking, and I don't know if this is possible, can we hear the voice you use as Grandpa?
Oh, well, I guess that I can do that. Yeah. Grandpa, he sounds very familiar. But, you can't get to Grandpa without sneaking through Al Lewis.
Right.
And by the way, so I knew Al Lewis and his wife Karen, not well, but I knew Fred Gwynn well. And I knew Al Lewis somewhat. And I've spoken to both widows. And Debbie Gwynn said, oh, my God, Fred would be so happy that you're doing this. He knows how much you loved it. And Karen Lewis said, and I haven't said this publicly anywhere but here, Karen Lewis said, you know what Al would say? He'd say, it's yours now. Run with it. Enjoy it. And there's been, pushback with Sherry and Jeff. Even me, one guy wrote, this guy has no comedy experience. Like, I've been doing comedy longer than Al Lewis was alive when he took the job. You just can't make people happy.
You know what the problem is, Dan? The truth of the matter is that it's such beloved characters. And until people actually see how incredibly talented the cast of the film is and how wonderful you guys are going to bring these characters to life, there's just going to be people who act that way.
Sure. There's crazy pushback for zero reason other than the internet's a crazy place, but that's not at all to be taken. I can't wait. I'm sure you're going to be phenomenal. And
thank
you. I just want to say I'm going to give a little moment for inspiration for you, Daniel. River's Edge. We're similar in age. We're not far off in age. And your performance in River's Edge was something that stuck with me and inspired me to, hey, can I get to that point where as a character actor, I could make that kind of impact? You were sublime in that film, and you were a very young man at the time. And your trajectory from there, you did everything and everything in between. And I have immense respect for you. So it's just wonderful having you on the show, too.
It's extraordinary to hear those words from you. I had starred in Cave Girl. That was my entire filmic experience. And so River's Edge is only great because Tim Hunter was great, the director. My co-stars, Crispin and Keanu, Ione, Roxana, Joshua were great. The producers were great, but the script was perfection. And sometimes that kind of thing happens. And you know, if people haven't seen Getting Great for a while, okay, I'm sorry, River's Edge for a while. What's funny is, Scott, you know the film well. It looks exactly like today. Like we took my kids, my son, who was my age when I played Samson, had never seen River's Edge. So we took him and his older sister, my daughter, to the movie at the Hollywood Egyptian, and they showed it with Blue Velvet.
Wow.
And
Oh,
so both phenomenal movies. Blue Velvet looks like 1985. River's Edge looks like we could go right up there in, you know, up to Sunland, and the people look the same, the haircuts look the same, the clothing looks the same, and the cars they're driving looks the same. The only giveaway is they walk up to a payphone in one scene, but nothing else looks different. Really, thank you for your kind words. I was blessed to be there, and you know, it had a great impact on my trajectory. So that they believed in me was a huge gift.
Powerful. No, really, everybody. I mean, yourself mostly. I'm speaking of, obviously, but that's a powerful cast in general. And you jump through the screen, and again at a young age, you know, I guess that's a testament to your dedication and the director to get that kind of performance out of a young cast. It was so genuine, so much pathos. There's not a phony frame in that movie.
I thank you for that. You know, I forgot one guy in particular, Dennis Hopper, who you know, who they all got to do a scene and then they left. I got Dennis. It was like me and Dennis.
Oh yeah,
you know, for weeks and weeks, it was just me and Dennis. And my God, like, look, if as actors, if for a moment any of us think what we get is what we deserve, you know, we're complete idiots, and B, we ignore, you know, this great path that God puts us on. He put me in front of Dennis Hopper. Now, he said, Dan, shut up. Listen to Dennis Hopper. And Dennis Hopper said stuff all the time that I was like, what? One day he said, hey, Danny, what are we going to do next? And I said, well, you have the rest of the day off. We're doing this scene. He goes, oh, what happens there? And I say, didn't you read the script? And he goes, no, actually, I don't read the parts that I don't want to know things that my character shouldn't know. I was like, well, that's really interesting. Because if you really are a methodical actor, having too much information will alter how, you know, not knowing what happened. He didn't know Keanu was the one who turned us in. He didn't know any of that stuff.
Wow.
Interesting.
you know what I would kill to see? If either Scott, if you're ever making a film in the Northeast, or Dan, if you're ever making one in Pennsylvania or the Northeast, you two guys should work together, because that would be some cinema magic right there.
Yeah, where do you live?
I'm up in northern New Jersey. That would be phenomenal. I would love that someday.
Well, listen, we make our films in the Lehigh Valley. Dave, would you please, the next time we're doing something, make sure that Scott and I are in touch?
Absolutely. I will, and I will even come with Scott and serve you guys breakfast burritos while you make cinema magic. Because...
And by the way, if you came, because we make our films in a not-for-profit situation, and that is true, I make no money to write, produce, direct, star, edit the thing with Tammy for months and months, post-production. I do it all for free because the man pays me to be Grandpa Munster. But, oh, thanks, CJ. But you will be serving burritos. That's really what I'm getting to. If you come, you would be, because everyone goes, can I come to the set? I go, sure. Wear work gloves and, you know, don't wear flip-flops, wear sneakers. Because if you're there, I might say, could you just help them with that garbage over there? Because I normally am the one doing it, but I've actually got to go be in the scene.
We'll be there with bells on.
With
that being said, Dan, you know we love you, and we could talk to you for
probably
6 or 7 episodes in a row.
We're here to
if it was
talk
up to us. So, without further ado, Mr. Ridgely, do we have part 1 of the interview ready to rock and roll?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop everybody down, and then I'm going to play it.
Okay, and it's about 6 minutes long, is that correct?
I believe both are just over 7 minutes long.
Okay, perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, this is part 3, because we did part 1 and 2 in the first episode, of the interview conducted with Vincent Price, my brother Bob Madison, and I, back in 1979.
How did your long-lived affair with art begin? Do you remember what first inspired you to look into it?
Yeah. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, where somebody else I know was born. And if you had any sensitivity at all, which some of us had, like Mr. Sticks and Mr. Miles and like that, we had a marvelous museum. And you were forced to go to it when you were a kid. And it's really a very good museum. And I recommend all of them. I'm a museum goer.
And what lured you into cooking?
My mother. She, I had a letter from my sister who read an article that I wrote the other day saying that it was because of my mother that we were allowed to learn to cook. And she said, you're a big liar. She said, that's not true. Mother never let us in the kitchen. She never let my sister in the kitchen because all she ever knew how to do was make wilted lettuce. And my sister really just hated cooking, but I loved it. And I used to go in and observe, and then I was allowed to cook. And then I just kept it up, and I like it. All the best cooks in there, anyway.
In Italy and France.
And America. Sure, you never heard of Millie of the Waldorf. It's always Oscar of the Waldorf. Millie of the Waldorf.
When did you start doing diversions in the lights, and how did it come to you?
About 37 years ago, I started. Now, it was like 2.5 years ago in San Francisco. And it came to me in the absolute ordinary direct channels of the theater. It was sent by the author to a director who thought, who would I put in it? And he sent it to me and said, if you will do it, I will do it. So I read it, and my wife read it, who's a much better play reader than I am, and said, you do it. You lazy bastard, you do it. Those were exact words. And so I did it. And it's really kind of a marvelous thing to have, and a one-man show is a marvelous thing to have because it's kind of an annuity. I mean, you can pack it up and move it out and take it on the road.
You don't have to worry about other people.
No. And it also is a very simple show, I mean, my requirements are almost nil. And when, like this summer, I did it in 2 summer theaters. And it was just a godsend to them because one of them had just before I got there that, what was that play about Sherlock Holmes? Christopher Blood, which had 39 sets, 72 actors, and wrecked the theater because they had to build all this stuff, Westport, and it just ruined them because it also didn't have, it had a very, very fine actor in it.
Whitehead.
Huh?
Paxton Whitehead.
Yeah, but he wasn't really very well known. And so in 1 week, in summer stock, you've got to have somebody who is a draw, who is known. Or else the play has got to be a huge draw. Well, the play wasn't that huge a draw. And they did it also in Denver when I was there. And it did well, but it never paid back its investment. Because the investment in Denver particularly was huge. What is it, got 12 sets or something? Ships, outrageous kind of thing. And so, I mean, to have an actor come in with a show that costs $1.98 is a big help.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it will work, and it was a big success, this show, in both Denver and Westport, critically and audience-wise and every other way. So to have a show that a summer company can bring in that doesn't cost anything is just an absolute guarantee, you know, for them to make back their money.
Would you like to play Sherlock Holmes?
No, not really. No, not really.
Because he's a great character.
Oh, he's a wonderful character. I'm afraid that having known Basil Rathbone terribly well, I would have always sort of took Basil Rathbone because he was the ultimate Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, much better than just about everyone else.
Oh, as much.
Although Peter Cushing did very good.
Peter was all right, but Basil had that kind of marvelous arrogance, you know. He was just sensational. He was wonderful. And it was a big problem to him, too, as you know.
He couldn't get anything else.
Well, he couldn't get anything else. It came at a time in his life where the major part of his career was kind of over, and this was something that he did, one picture of, which was intended in his way of thinking to be just sort of part of the, overall picture of his career. And it became so successful that they did all those sequels to it and everything, and Basil got stuck in it. And it certainly kept him alive, you know, it made him terribly famous. And I don't know whether his estate ever, I wouldn't think so, because they never let actors share it, really.
You should have.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, just to hear that legendary voice again is absolutely astonishing to me.
What I love how who was that? Your brother?
That's my brother Bob. Yep.
Isn't it? Our 1979 voices are very disturbing.
You know, your brother Bob is like, and then what kind of play did you do, Mr. Price?
But you know, that's not how he talks.
Well, he's 17 at the time.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. You never want to listen to your 1979-year-old voice.
You know,
Well, thanks for sharing it.
I mean, you know what's really cool? Here's an icon. I mean, one of the top 5 pop culture icons of all time, some people would say. And he's so kind and generous with just a kid who's talking to him. He's very relaxed and very social and very kind. And it was just a wonderful experience. I want to thank Matt Staley, who took, we recorded it on, when we were kids, Dan would probably, and Scott would probably remember this, these little cassette tapes. They were probably like this circumference, and you'd press play and record on one end, and you'd hold the microphone up to whoever you were talking to. My brother and I used to, before the advent of beta and VHS, we used to record movies and television shows we liked. And then listen to them, especially like we loved the film 1776, which was a musical. So we'd listen to the music. And
Sit down, John. Sit down.
Sit down. Vote yes.
Sit down, John.
Someone shut that man up.
Look,
Never.
He's got the hair. We make him the Scottish guy. He'd be perfect. Joe, you're in there too. We're gonna figure out who you are.
I want to announce actually now, because I just found the tapes and we're going to get them all ready this Halloween night, on the end of the night. And Dan, if you're available, I don't know, Halloween won't be on a Sunday, so whatever the Sunday closest to Halloween is. I dug up an interview that my brother and I did, that I actually do a little bit more of the interview with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. So that's going to be our Halloween special.
What kind of childhood did you have, you little shit?
It was very, very interesting. It was wonderful. I grew up in Middle Village, Queens, and my brother befriended a gentleman named Chris Steinbrenner. I don't know if you know him, but he was the program director at WPIX 11 in New York City.
Oh, okay. I'm well.
Back then, on Thanksgiving Day, they would play like King Kong and Mighty Joe Young.
Every Thanksgiving.
Yep, everything was horror based on WP. It was a WPIX or WOR9. It's one of those two channels.
No, I think it was WPIX.
I think it was WPIX.
Channel 11, where we were.
Yep, and they had the U-Log. Yep. and they had the Yule log and Chiller. Do you remember Chiller?
Chiller
It was
Theater
on-
with the six fingers. Yeah.
Yep, that was all on. So he, my brother, was also a stage actor. So he was blessed to actually work with a lot of these wonderful, because he was a young kid and he adored all these legendary icons, and they were all later in life. So they kind of got a kick out of, this 17-year-old kid who used to go on the Uncle Floyd show and do impersonations of Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi and all the great iconic actors. And they got a kick out of this goofball guy and his 10-year-old little goofy brother who he would tag along with him on these things. So it was wonderful. And to hear Vincent speak candidly about things like what he thought of Basil Rathbone's performance as Sherlock Holmes, and him
you
talking.
can also hear his I don't know if his estate, Vincent was he was thinking that. Did Basil Rathbone's estate profit continuously? He would have known they didn't. There were no residuals in the 30s and 40s and 50s when Basil Rathbone was doing those movies. But Basil Rathbone single-handedly kept Sherlock Holmes in the popular culture.
Absolutely, in those movies throughout the early 40s, and I think throughout into the early 1950s.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm a Vincent Price nerd. Maybe one of the first books I bought. I know I have a picture somewhere of me with that book about him, where he's on the back cover with the melting. I can't even remember what it's called.
I bet you have that. Do you have that original board game where he has shrunken heads?
Of course. Well,
I know.
It was a shrunken. Anything with Vincent Price, Hangman, whatever. But it was interesting to hear him talk about his sister. The sister, what did he say? Sister said, "Oh, you were never in the kitchen." And he goes, "She wasn't allowed in the kitchen. She made wilted lettuce."
Lettuce, yes.
The ultimate insult to this man. I do want to say, when I was a kid, we had the Roy Radin Vaudeville Review come through our area. I'm sure it came through everyone's area. Roy Radin ultimately became famous because he was the guy whose head they blew off with a shotgun in the Cotton Club murders. But he had this vaudeville show that they would go to the Fraternal Order of Police, and the Fraternal Order of Police would put it on to raise money. So my dad worked for the city, and I got to go. So I met many actors backstage. One year, John Carradine was touring with this review. And I had, by this time, I realized I had to put in a request. So I found a stage manager, and I said, and I came early, and I said, "Does Mr. Carradine have time to speak to a fan?" And she came back. She said, "You have a half hour." So I sat with John Carradine without a camera, without a recorder, without anything. And he was playing solitaire, and his hands were terribly, this would have been 75, 76. His hands were terribly warped from arthritis. And he played solitaire, and he said, "Ask me anything." I was like, "What color was Frankenstein?" "Gray." "Not green, gray." Because he was on the set of Bride. He was there.
Yeah. Did you get to go to that original Famous Monsters convention in New York City?
I had great resentment against my mother. My mother, she did so much. The pictures of that with the Don Post hands next to the mask, all the pictures have Don Post, those hands that you were like, I've never seen them in person. And Cortlandt Hall, remember, always Cortlandt Hall. Always.
I have a couple of the original Famous Monsters convention bags. If you'd like one, next time I see you, I'll give you one. The red convention bag?
Well, you know what? I'd be creepy if I took one, because I do have one.
Oh, you have a... It would be creepy if you didn't.
But if I had two, I could carry stuff in it and make people jealous.
I have one signed by Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, and Vincent Price. That's back when they used to sign with pen. Nobody signed with marker back in the day. Everybody signed with
Hey, I'll take that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to talk about one thing, Vincent Price. John Goodwin, also from St. Louis. John Goodwin, not Goodman. John Goodwin, who is an Emmy Award-winning makeup artist, has worked with me often. He was one of the people. He actually defined the Dr. Shocker makeup. John Goodwin turned me on to a Robert Mitchum movie called, I had to look it up, His Kind of Woman. Have you guys ever seen this?
I don't think so.
No.
It's a 1951 movie where Raymond Burr is a mobster villain. Robert Mitchum and Jane Russell are on an island. Vincent Price is also on the island. So it is the very first time that Vincent Price uses that Shakespearean ham actor persona. Like he's an actor, and then the Raymond Burr's trying to, take over the island, and he starts quoting from the Shakespeare plays. And so, what he did perfectly then, right before you met him, like in Theater of Blood, but he kind of created that fake ham actor persona in 1951. Well worth seeing this movie. It's Kind of Woman.
I am definitely going to check that out. It's actually kind of a sad story when you think about Vincent Price. He was offered by Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson a percentage of the song Thriller or $25,000 cash, and he chose $25,000 cash.
And I think he maintained till his death that they never paid him anything.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I think he's on record saying they never paid me a dime. Look that up. It's kind of creepy if it's true.
Yeah, I know, because he because I know on the other hand, he did a song with Alice Cooper, "Welcome to My Nightmare," in which he had nothing but glowing things to say about it.
Have you met Alice Cooper, you guys?
I have, yes.
You've got him. Are those music instruments behind you, Scott?
Yeah, I'm a musician since I'm a child. Music's my main thing. Character acting is a very close second.
Well, you need to meet him. You need to, if he comes to your town, you need to pay the extra $100 to shake his hand. He's not only the most gracious person, he is a genuinely nice guy, and recently came out, much to everyone's horror, as a devout Christian.
Oh, sweet.
Isn't that funny? Welcome to My Nightmare. All that satanic stuff.
It is.
And he follows Jesus Christ. So, we're entertainers, so we could do anything as an entertainer, what we do in our personal life. But I've interviewed him twice for things, and once was about the Groovy Ghoulies TV show. Who would you be? Oh, I'd be Drac. I like those tight pants and the kid. All this. He was great. When we were done, I said, it's so funny that you, like the Groovy Ghoulies, you were already a 30-year-old man. He goes, oh, Dan, I've never seen the Groovy Ghoulies. I was like, what? He goes, no, I asked my kid about it. She told me all about it. But he gave us a great interview because he was like, Dan, he's coming over. We're going to, Wally Winger, Danny, we're going to do a nice interview. Good person.
That's awesome.
Dan, just so you know, Scott's being extraordinarily humble, because not only was he a huge part of the Kevin Smith films, he also scores motion pictures now.
Oh.
And he did the music for my film Wit's End. He's did the film he's doing the film score for my upcoming werewolf feature Full Moon Fever, and you've done a bunch of other films, right, Scott?
Well, I'm fortunate. In the last 20 years, many of the independent films I got to work on, I also did music work on, whether it was additional music or special music or sometimes the full score. I've been fortunate, and it's on a modest level, but it just keeps me going, and it's very creative, and I feel very blessed to be able to do it, period.
Dan, when you get a chance, seek out our Christmas album, The Wandering Wannabes. It's me, Scott, Brian O'Halloran, and
Brian O'Halloran
from Clerks.
Okay.
And Alan Jax Bowers, who's a cat who drums for, I always forget, Jimmy Buffett.
Jimmy Buffett, among others.
And Joe Perry is our Joe Ferry is our bass player, who won, I think, 3 or 4 Grammys. So it's a cool little Christmas EP. I think you'll get a kick out of.
I wrote it down. I got it. I wrote. Tammy's going to be editing tomorrow. She's going to be like, "What is this note I made? I don't know."
Well, without further ado, I don't want to keep this lovely man up all night with our goofiness. Mr. Ridgely, are you ready to do part 2 of the Vincent Price interview?
I am. I am going to drop everybody back down again.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, part 2.
Do you admire wit, and do you think it's a sign of intelligence?
Oh yes, it's the ultimate sign of intelligence. Wit, not funniness. That is the trouble with modern television, is that it is funny without being witty. You know exactly.
Because wit, there's some truth behind it.
That's right.
But anybody can do shtick.
Shtick, yeah. But I mean, you know, you take the wild thing. There isn't a single double meaning. There isn't a single, even vaguely dirty word. And yet it's funnier than 90% of the stand-up comics in the world. You know, because it is real wit.
Especially the fables and the
Yeah.
thing about the actor.
Yes,
Which
wonderful.
I've heard that several times. It's still.
Oh, it's very
Great.
funny thing. Yeah, it's a wonderful story.
When you play wild, you alter your speech pattern.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, number one, I am trying as hard as I can to be as close to Wilde as I can. Wilde had a very peculiar speech pattern, which was very famous. It was called a Irish Protestant accent. He and Bernard Shaw had it, and it was that kind of meticulous pronunciation of every single syllable of the word, evenly.
It's sort of being it.
That's right.
Debauch.
Yes, yeah, debauchery, all that kind of thing. And also, there are many, many descriptions of Wilde's voice, what it was like. He had very bad teeth, and like most Englishmen did at that time, and he used to talk sort of like that to cover up his teeth, which I try and do. I also raised my voice at a different pitch. And also, I am terribly well known for my voice, and I don't want to have that voice. Because if I had that voice, I'd still be Vincent Price, you know?
And kill the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
How much research did you do on Wilde before you attempted to do him on stage?
Well, I did it at the same time, and since. I mean, when I created the part, when I had a marvelous director, it is very difficult to know too much. You should enter a part with a kind of innocence, you know, a kind of openness. And what the director wants, what he feels and everything. I did another play one time, Tennessee Williams, one-act play, and suddenly in the middle of it, I came to the director who had given me some wonderful things to do. And I said, you know, the one thing that is wrong is the voice. I'm playing it like myself. And what it really needs is a very thick sort of southern accent, like a man who lost some of his teeth. So I did that, and the minute you laid that over the other things that were given you, you know, by the director, it worked. It would not have worked if I had done that right at the beginning, because you have to grow into it. So a lot of the research that I did was done during rehearsals and after the play, after we started trying it out.
Do you know if Wilde said anything about Edgar Allan Poe, or if he didn't, what do you think his opinion of Poe would have been? Because he seems to think all writers were cut below himself.
Oh, that a lot of Wilde's putting on people is a way of humor. You know, I mean, cutting people down. That is one of the great bases of humor, is kind of deprecation.
That's why Germans and
Yeah.
Frenchmen have practically no humor.
No.
All dignity.
I mean, I just want you to know it's 1 o'clock.
Right.
Whenever you have to,
Yeah.
get a time when
I'm
you're.
going to, yes, I'm going to have to start on it now.
When does the play start?
Two. But I got to pack.
Okay, I'll hurry this up then.
All right.
What do you read in your leisure time?
Wifey.
I couldn't walk away after hearing.
I knew that.
He gave you wifey?
Yes, he gave me a dirty book to read on the airplane.
I know, I've read it. You recently did a Halloween special whose design was to induce children to read.
Yeah.
Do you think children's aversion to reading is a serious problem, and to what extent is television responsible?
So much been written about it. We've obviously read a lot of it. I think television is very responsible for keeping kids from reading. But in television is the fact that they're allowed to watch it, and that they get hooked on it. And somebody called it one time in its early days the electronic nurse. It's a way to take care of your kids and get out yourself and get away from them. And
The lobotomy box.
yeah, and I think that that program has a validity in sort of saying, look, here's something that's really a lot more exciting than a lot of the stuff you're watching, and we'll tell you a little bit about it and see if it whets your interest. Now,
Do you think it worked?
I do, because I've had about 50 parents come up to me and say that my kids went right straight out and bought the book or went to the library.
That's great.
So I think, even 50 people,
That's you hit something.
that's right, and it's more people than you usually get in one of those goddamn Nielsen ratings, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't put much credit in Nielsen ratings.
No, okay.
Time Express didn't work out.
No.
Why do you think so? Why do you think it
Well,
failed?
two reasons. The network is scared of anything that's different than what's on the air.
And it was different.
It was different. I thought it was kind of good in parts. I also think they didn't develop the stories very well. They got scared of the two characters that my wife and I played. They didn't know what to do with them. And they just, buggered it up.
What should have been done?
Well, I think that they should have had much more involvement with
In the
people.
story.
Yeah,
Instead of
And
just driving them.
that's right. And that's what they were planning to do had the show been picked up. But then, of course, CBS, who paid for the show and everything, put it on against Mork and Mindy.
Kiss of death.
Kiss of Death. We were destroyed before we went on the air.
Who is the most lovely and exciting actress you've worked with?
Oh, I've worked with an awful lot of them. I think probably the best actress I ever worked with was Lorette Taylor, who you wouldn't know but she did Glass Menagerie. She was,
Oh, I've seen
Yeah.
Johnson.
well, no, you've never seen her in it because she died before you were born.
No, I've seen it.
But
Right.
she was really probably the greatest American actress, certainly Ellen Davis.
Which you worked with in your Broadway debut.
That's right, for 3 years. So, that was an extraordinary experience.
Hello! You know what's amazing? I would have never in a million years thought he would have said his favorite actress to work with of all time was Lorette Taylor. I'm not even familiar with her work. Have you ever heard of her, Dan?
I'm glad you headed off with that because I didn't get the name.
Yeah, Lorette Taylor. I'll bet you if we look up on IBDB, while you guys talk, I'm going to look it up.
I think perhaps that she might have been a stage performer, and she might not have an IMDb, but of course that's...
No. I'm looking up
Yep.
on IBDB. Do you know there's such a thing? The Internet Broadway database.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean,
Sweet.
it tells you who opened in a play, oh, interesting. I'll bet you did he do Glass Menagerie with her?
Yeah, I think that's what he was talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So she was born in 1884.
Oh, wow.
Mother of Dwight Taylor, mother of Margaret Courtney.
You know what's funny? I don't know if you know this, Dan, but Stephen Jeffries, who was Evil Ed in Fright Night in 976 Evil, he played Stark in my film Mr. Hush. I think is it Tonys that you win for Broadway shows?
Yeah.
I think he won a Tony before he was a film actor. It's amazing how many...
Oh, as a kid?
Yeah, how many actors have backgrounds in stage.
This woman, by the way, has starred on Broadway in many plays as early as 1909. So you could go to the Internet Broadway database, and and he said I couldn't hear the play. He said Glass Menagerie.
I think so. He said it was the first thing. My brother said to him it was the first thing you've done on Broadway. So I guess it was.
Oh, I thought he did Service Deluxe. I thought that was his first.
I'm not sure. They were very quiet at some parts in this second part of the interview, but I think that's what he said.
So I'm looking at the original cast. I like that they put the production staff first. Like everybody.
I guess you could cross-reference her with Vincent Price and see what was the first.
Yeah, I
show
was
they
looking
did.
to see if he was. It doesn't seem like he was in that production.
Okay.
Anyway, that's neat.
Yeah, that's just a cool thing, and I want to thank my brother Bob for digging up these tapes for me so that we could play them. That was
asking good questions at 17 years old.
Yes, it was a very long time ago, and these have never been heard by anybody but my immediate family and of course Mr. Price. So it was really cool to have something out there that is kind of bringing back the legend, the icon of Vincent Price.
People can also around that same. So what show? Your brother, was he asking about that show on the train?
The show on the train.
So he said that was set up against Mork and Mindy.
Yes. He said that he had a show and it was it got the kiss of death because they put it on opposite Mork and Mindy.
Yeah, so you can. I think the pilot for that show's on YouTube. It stars Vincent Price and Coral Brown, and they're on a train that takes people into the past or some part of their life, and they get to fix some part of their life. But it's a train. It's like, it's Fantasy Island, but you go on the train, then the train drops you off in your past life.
Oh, sweet.
I watched it recently, and it's trying to think of who the guest stars in the first episode were very interesting. Anyway,
how many did they even get to make of that?
I have no memory of it, and I was a Vincent Price junkie, so that I was already doing theater by then. So it seems like they may have only made the pilot and put the pilot on as a TV movie as they used to do. It's hard to say, but it's weird that it's him and Coral Brown, and then there's the other people on the train are it's like Ted Lang and whomever.
Do you know what they're talking about when they're talking about a Halloween special?
The Reading Halloween special. No, there was, and also finally on YouTube, I've been had a personal copy of this for years. There's a Friday night, 11:30 show where Vincent Price has Forey Ackerman on and John Carradine and Candy Clark and the makeup man from Island of Seven Faces of Dr. Lowe makes her up as a witch. Just like a Vincent Price, late night special.
Sweet. Did you ever see the Halloween It Almost Wasn't with Judd Hirsch?
I remember hearing of it, but I don't remember it.
I think you would absolutely love that. If you get a chance to check that out, it was really just fantastic. Scott, is there anything? Sorry, Dan?
No, just another time. He's talking about TV, Vincent Price, you guys. I have this friend who passed away named Kevin Burns, who was not only the biggest monsters collector in the world, he's one of the few geniuses I ever met. Kevin would find the most ridiculous things, Danny Kaye shows starring Vincent Price or Fred Gwynn. And these shows where Vince, they would go do their Donnie and Marie comedy special, but imagine one, that Danny Kaye was the host. And they do this whole 20-minute routine where they're doing the whole character in a bit, and what those guys could do that. Vincent Price, think of that. You interviewed him in '79. He died. He was well into his 60s by then. or 70s rather. He died in 82 in the 90s. I think. Well, I remember he died while we were doing a big Halloween show.
Yeah, I think when he was in Edward Scissorhands, which I guess was that 89?
No, it would be 90. I mean, we could look it up.
Because that was his last film, I think, Edward Scissorhands.
That or Whales of August. But he
okay.
did it in 92 maybe.
Mhm.
Or 92 or 93, I would guess. Anyway, I mean, I saw that play, and he did change his voice. He did not. He talked kind of like this a little. I could remember, 1992. Thanks, CJ.
1990.
I mean, it's just, just cool that he was here, and that he represented so much more. He represented art. You could come to Los Angeles, and you could go to the East Los Angeles College, I think, and the Vincent Price collection is on permanent display.
Oh, sweet.
All of his art for free.
Wow.
That's awesome. Scott, you have any thoughts on share?
What I love about a lot of this too, the nostalgia part of it, is that the music business, pop culture, film, it was in such a beautiful place when he was at that interview time.
Mhm.
Meaning, I mean, I love technology very much, but the last 25 years or so, I don't know, things have changed so much within the business I grew up with and you grew up with, as far as whatever it is, vinyl and records and bookstores, and what films meant and what television meant. And I don't know, I just get nostalgic for some of that stuff myself. He was decades of that.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like, he's in Tower of London with Boris Karloff and Basil Rathbone, and he's on the Brady Bunch. So, like, that is something that he, we're all of an age. If we were a little younger, maybe a little older, it might be a little different. But, Lugosi was dead in the 50s. Karloff was dead in the 60s, right? Vincent Price came with us through our childhood. And he was on the Donnie and Marie Comedy Hour, and he was, in Edward Scissorhands, and he was in Thriller, in 1984 or whatever. Like Vincent Price was there with us, and he was the only one of horror who transcended and lived and created and entertained in our lifetime. I'll tell you, I was watching Kolchak earlier today while Tammy was editing. I was watching Kolchak. I watched 2 episodes, and I was thinking, 1974. It's pretty great to be a kid. 74, the Planet of the Apes were on TV. Kolchak was on TV.
The Odd Couple.
The Odd Couple was right at the end. The last year. The Odd Couple is my personal favorite. We had in the theater 74, I think, was Towering Inferno. Like, give me a break. Was there a better time to be taking that stuff in? And now you think, like, I'm lucky I'm on a lot of cool TV shows. I don't like bragging or mentioning them or anything, but dude, there's nothing like there was. It's gone. They tried. Rosie O'Donnell's gonna do a variety show. Yeah, Rosie O'Donnell. You're not Donnie and Marie. You don't have what they had.
Mm-hmm. You know what's kind of, and maybe I just sound like a sad sack old man when I say this, but it's kind of,
we are.
No one seems to have a passion for these things like we did growing up. I don't know if it's an oversaturation of availability of stuff,
Maybe.
If it's just people being desensitized to everything. But we were a generation that was blessed to, we had maybe 7 or 8 channels that we were able to watch. If you were in New York, you got to see 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, and 11. And
PBS 13.
Yep.
And you knew Abbott and Costello was going to be with you Sunday morning after church. And you knew Chiller was going to be there for you Saturday night. and you knew that the WOR, $1 million movie was going to play. You could watch the producers 5 days in a row. And if you did it right, you would piss your mom off so much that she would be like, "How do you watch the same movie 5 days in a row?"
Every morning at 6:00 in the morning, I would watch the Mr. Magoo cartoon. I don't think people remember that.
Yeah.
And overnight on NBC, they would play a marathon of Mary Tyler Moore into the second I Love Lucy show. And this is all we had. And reruns of Star Trek was literally like our lifeline.
But when he said that the TV was an electronic nurse in 1979, imagine if he was alive now.
Oh my God! Yes,
with the streaming and
we've gone one step further. I'm in a restaurant this morning, and now I've had kids. So once you've had kids, but my kids, one time my daughter was like acting crazy in a restaurant, and I picked her up, and I took her to the bathroom. She was like, "Don't hit me! Don't hit me!" Like everybody's like, "Is that the guy from Matlock beating his daughter?" Well, of course, I hit her. I spanked her. I gave her a good spanking in the bathroom, and she shut up. But we would always sit and talk and play games and play cards. People, time and time again, servers would say, "We love when your family comes in. Why aren't all the families like your family?" So I'm very proud of that. Today, instead of a kid screaming at the table across from me, I had some old lady, older than me, listening. She was watching on her phone her grandchild screaming, like she's like, "Ah, ah," and the kid, "Ah," and like she had no idea that was 10 times more annoying. If there was a child here, you'd think, well, the child's a child, you got maybe he's uncomfortable, he doesn't know what his sit. But people are crazy. But we're talking about Vince Price.
No, I totally get it.
I'm sorry. So the times were different, and I don't look at you guys. And I mean, you've seen Getting Grace. I'm trying to make movies that have an aura, an affectation of another time. I don't. People say, "Oh, you're saying all these horror movies. You should make horror movies." I don't want to make horror. You make a horror movie. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's what Dave can do. I don't want to make a horror movie. I want to make a movie where people talk and have crises that they can solve through interaction and work, and scenes where people talk for sometimes 4 or 5 minutes, because that's how long people really talk when they're
in real life. Yeah.
So, my movies are evocative of the 70s, probably 60s and 70s. No one seems to be picking up on that yet. No one complains about it either. They don't say it's slow moving or it's it needs to be cut faster, because I'm making movie. The other good thing about making not for profit, I don't have to answer to anybody.
Make it for yourself. If you like it, then it's good.
Then it's good. Exactly, Scott. Exactly.
No, and you and your lovely wife are an amazing team. You guys work together and make some really amazing films. I can't wait to see the new one, to be honest with you.
Oh, thank you.
With that being said, Daniel, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I want to thank your beautiful wife for helping me facilitate that. She's awesome.
I think Dave Madison's hitting on you.
Wouldn't be the first time, Dan. I'm a snake oil salesman, my friend.
Oh man.
And again, Dan, thank you so much. Can you tell everybody where they could find you and what upcoming projects or anything you want to share before you say goodnight?
Thank you. People could go to achannelofpeace.org. They could always join us on Facebook at A Channel of Peace, or Daniel Roebuck. I think on Instagram, I am Mr. Daniel Roebuck, Mr. Daniel Roebuck, Mr. Daniel Roebuck, Mr. Daniel Roebuck. And if you have any questions or whatever, you can find me. If you want to be a partner in our filmmaking process, that means donate. You can find us, and we are always happy to put your money on screen, not on my waist or in my gullet.
And the message and what your films generate to help people is just amazing. So thank you.
Faith-based family movies.
Yeah,
family
absolutely.
Watch it, laugh, learn something.
And one other thing I want to throw in before you exit, we were saying how Vincent Price was so kind and generous with his time and his knowledge to young people and to filmmakers and to everybody, even though he had such an amazing career. Dan, you are just like Vincent Price in that, with your kindness and just being a great guy. I'm honored to know you. Thank you, Dan, for joining us tonight. I can't wait to see your films coming out. I can't wait to see the new Monsters. And I want to congratulate Rob Zombie for casting you as Grandpa, because that I find it to be wonderfully inspiring casting.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Scott, you're going to find me when we're making a movie. Just come and hang out. And we'll get Dave to give us. And Joe, you're down here, right? You're in Tampa. Where are you?
I'm in Florida. Yeah, I'm on the Treasure Coast.
And I'm in Tampa. Amy and I live in Tampa.
I'm on the opposite coast.
Oh,
yeah.
You live on the Treasure Coast, and we live on the poor people coast. Is that what you're insinuating?
I was just saying that was across the state, but I'll be more than happy to serve you burritos as well.
All right. All right. God bless you all. Everybody, Vincent Price, His Kind of Woman, find that movie. You'll love it.
Thank you, Dan. It was wonderful seeing you, and I hope to talk to you soon, pal.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, the enormously talented, wonderful Daniel Roebuck.
Wow.
Awesome stuff, huh?
He's just a wonderful guy. And in all kidding aside, Scott, because I even talked to Tammy, his beautiful wife who produces these movies, I really think that we need to get you you guys to work together, because I think that would be awesome. Yep.
That would be something, I'll tell you that. I'd be very happy.
So, another episode of The End of the Night in the books.
I can't stop grinning ear to ear.
Well, thank you. I think it was another, I don't mean to sound corny, but, this show, we're freaking talking with Vincent Price, man. Nobody else is doing that. So I want to thank again my brother Bob for providing me with that tape. We're going to start editing the Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee show, which we will air on the Sunday closest to Halloween.
That is actually Sunday, October 30th.
Sunday, October 30th. So that's wonderful. It's literally the Goosey night into Halloween. We'll have the interview's over an hour and a half, so we'll probably have to do it over 2 episodes. So we'll have an all-star show that Halloween night. As you know, I love having a Halloween party. Oh, and I almost forgot. Next week, as many of you know, my favorite horror film of all time is Fright Night. Everybody knows Mr. Hush is a loving ode to Fright Night. And next week on this very show, we are going to have none other than Jonathan Stark, who played Billy Cole in Fright Night, evil Jerry Dandridge's henchman. He was just absolutely wonderful. Jonathan Stark has had an amazing career in television and film, and doesn't do any of these shows. So he'll be on with us next Sunday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on The End of the Night, and we'll get to talk to the wonderfully talented Jonathan Stark. Is there anything you want to touch on, Mr. Schiaffo, before we call it an evening? Thank you, Sean. It's my pleasure.
Oh, man. Thanks, everybody. CJ, Sean, everybody piping in. And
Gabe, CJ, Brandon, Terry, the whole gang was here tonight. Matt, Libby.
Haven for Heroes was here.
Haven for Heroes, a great guy. He gave me this wonderful Vincent Price bop. He's wonderful. Bray was on. We had a full house tonight, and I'm very, very happy that everybody stopped in to watch this episode. Thank you for sticking with us. Shows, I think we've been on a while now. What the hell? Why do people watch us? I don't get it. Maybe because we talked to Daniel Roebuck, who's literally playing Grandpa Munster in the new Monsters movie,
right?
Or because we dig up Vincent Price and literally have him talk to us again. That's pretty cool. You know, it's funny. I couldn't find the usual green blanket that I hide my TV behind, so I put a Christmas
blanket. It looks like it's gift wrapped.
You know what's so funny? The animatronic head of my werewolf from Full Moon Fever is right. Wait, let me go. It's right there.
Right.
So
there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right there.
So everybody take a screenshot of that and blow it up.
Oh no, there it is. There it is. So I can't wait for Full Moon Fever to come out, which will. I'm going to have a big announcement next week on the Fright Night episode about Full Moon Fever. So it's not going to be here soon, but it'll be corresponding right around the time the Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing episode of this very broadcast it'll be out by then. Thanks, you gentlemen. Always laugh and learn some great movie facts. Thank you, Emmett. Thank you for being such a great guy. And again, thank you for the wonderful Vincent Price pop. I adore it. You're an awesome guy. Thank you for coming, watching me cry at the Super Bowl because the Bengals lose. And with that being said, I have to get my sad ass up at 5 a.m. to make a pilgrimage to Massachusetts. So with that being said, I want to thank Daniel Roebuck for coming on tonight. He's a wonderful, wonderful man, a wonderful actor, and has just always been really kind and wonderful guy. Thank you, Dan. I consider you a dear friend. You're a great guy. I want to thank you guys because this show doesn't happen without you guys. Mr. Schiaffo, is there anything you want to say before we sign off tonight?
I'm golden, man. Thanks, everybody, for your support, and rock on.
Okay, so next Sunday we will be back with none other than Jonathan Stark, Billy Cole from Fright Night. And remember, no man is a failure who has friends. Good night, everybody. Be well.